What's up guys? So there is more talk of a Mullen Automotive short squeeze, and over the weekend there are rumours of more deals going to happen next week as we approach the shareholders meeting. So in today's video I will look at the possibilities of this taking place this week, or if it will happen later, and I will look briefly at the huge deal that Mullen signed the other day. This deal is not as clear cut as the headline suggests. If you have bought shares of Mullen and you do not know the information in this video, then you are at serious risk of losing everything. But this is the only channel that has been correct about absolutely everything that Mullen would do this year. Going back as far as March this year, everything that I said would happen has happened, and I have pointed out massive red flags to watch out for along the way. But if you find any value in my Mullen videos and want me to keep creating regular updates, then can I ask you to smash the like button. I'm aiming to get 400 likes again on this video. Help me achieve this goal. Your likes help the channel grow, but also your likes help spread the truth about this company and its management. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and hit the bell notification. Now let's check out the very latest from Mullen Automotive. Is a giant short squeeze coming to MULN stock? For those who don't understand this, here is a very simple explanation. Put simply, when too many traders are holding a short position in a certain security and the price of that security begins to rally significantly, it triggers a wave of buying. That happens as both natural buyers, the bulls, buy the stock as shorts have to cover their position. Now some are starting to speculate that this could happen at MULN stock. And another thing that can happen when this does start to happen is that a stock can get halted due to an unusually high level of trading volume. Now we did see a halt of Mullen stock during the week, and I will explain that in a moment. The halt of MULN stock is not the same as the halt that happened to MMTLP stock last week. MarketWatch data shows a short interest of 47%, however other sites only suggest a short interest of about 10 to 12%. That said, the NASDAQ shows about 175.5 million shares sold short as of November 30th, and as of the most recently filed 10Q, the company had about 376 million shares outstanding. Now I have seen these figures being used all across social media, showing the massive high amount of the Mullen float that is sold short, and the level of misinformation being thrown around is simply amazing. As it says here, the most recent 10Q shows that the company had 376 million shares outstanding, but there has been loads of SEC filings since that 10Q back at the beginning of August, and the level of dilution of the float since then has been nothing short of incredible. So I'm going to look at this 14A from the 25th of November. As of the 25th of November, there is actually more than 1.65 billion shares in the Mullen stock float. This is nearly 5 times what the Investors Place article from only a few days ago has stated. This is why it is so important to always do your own DD, and extremely important to check the SEC filings for yourself. And I will look a little closer at this in a moment. But it is clear that if the float was only 300 million shares, then there could be a short squeeze possibility. With a float of 1.7 billion, and this being mainly retail owned, the chances of a short squeeze are so slim that I cannot see this happening at any time soon. Of course, once the reverse split that will be voted upon next week takes place, that will likely bring the float down to this amount of 66 million shares, and this could have a big impact in 2023. Now, as for the trading halt that happened during the week, why did NASDAQ halt trading in Mullen stock? And the reason for this is here, T1, T2 and T3. The halt was due to the company announcing a $200 million purchase order from Randy Marion Isuzu, a division of Randy Marion Automotive Group. Now this deal was announced for the purchase of 6,000 Class 1 EVs, but not everything in this announcement is 100% accurate. I looked into this deal and I made a video about this 2 days ago, so check this out in the links below. There is a lot of terms and conditions to this contract that I feel that most EV companies would not even bother signing. There is zero risk in this deal for Randy Marion Automotive, and the full risk is on Mullen. Check out this video and I have explained it all here. Anyways, MULN stock was momentarily halted Thursday morning after the company announced that it had received a $200 million purchase order from Randy Marion Isuzu, a division of Randy Marion Automotive Group, and shares were halted from 8:55 AM to 9:50. So shares were halted for 1 hour only, and then trading resumed. Now this is completely different from what happened to MMTLP stock last week. What happened to MMTLP will cause serious issues, and I am watching this very closely because there is a massive amount of shady dealings going on. But the Mullen halt was for 1 hour, But the Mullen halt, that was for 1 hour only, is standard and it happens across the market frequently. If you follow any medical or pharmaceutical stocks, you will see this happen when there is a big FDA approval, or any oil and gas stocks that announce a discovery. Anytime there is a sudden spike in trading volume, it raises a red flag. In this case, the T1 halt was initiated because MULN stock was pinning the release of material news. Next, the T2 states, and this is important, that the news has begun to dissemination process through the regulation FD compliant method. This prevents publicly traded companies from disclosing material, non-public information to people outside the company unless it also shares this information with the general public. Basically, this stops insiders or major investors from getting inside information and dumping or buying shares before the public even knows about it. And finally, the stock resumed trading again less than 55 minutes after the halt began. But the question that I have is simple. If the stock is going to fly, if the stock is such great value, and if MULN Automotive is the real deal, then why does CEO David Michery keep selling as much shares as he legally can? Right from the very beginning, from the day the stock went public, there has been a massive transfer of ownership. From David Michery owning nearly 80% of this company, down to him now owning less than 4%, despite being awarded hundreds of millions of shares for free throughout the year. Now let's remember that MULN Automotive only went public through a reverse merger with Net Elements on November 9th, 2021, just over 1 year ago. November 9th. But within 10 days, this CEO had already began dumping his stock. Here on November 18th, he dumped 750,000 shares, which doesn't seem like many shares now, but at the time this was 750,000 shares that he sold right here at the very top at approximately $16 per share. And since then the share price has been dropping. If this man truly believed in this company, why would he be selling that amount of shares within days of bringing the company public? It doesn't make any sense. Now, despite all the dilution up to 1.6 billion shares, and the fact that he has been granted millions upon millions of shares throughout 2022, David Michery now owns 56 million shares, which accounts to only 3.4% of the total shares of the company. And this is where the AA preferred stock comes into play. In a normal shareholder meeting, anyone with 3.4% of total shares would have very little influence on his own. But David Michery has voting power of 1.35 billion shares now, which means that no matter what happens at this meeting, no matter what way every other shareholder votes, whatever this man wants to happen will happen. But what does all of this mean, and what do the other SEC filings regarding Michael Wax and Terran Piser's investments really mean? After all, these guys are dumping more shares than any retail shareholders could dream of. Guys, if you watched this far into the video, can you take a moment, smash the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you're new. If you don't agree with what I'm saying, then drop a comment and share a link to something that shows me to be wrong. In the time that I have been covering MULN stock, everything that I have said will happen has happened. If you have any doubts about this, then check out literally every video. Everything I said has happened step by step, exactly as I said it would happen. Despite my warnings, some people are intent to dislike my videos, so show your support if you find value in these videos. And for my viewers who want to support the channel even more, check out my Patreon page where you can support the channel for less than the cost of something like Netflix. And I have recently just set up a new private Discord community, so of course check this out too, with Patreon members getting access to an extra Discord level. Support the channel, check all of this out, and let's make those gains together. So what is going to happen next? Well, when the shareholders meeting comes around on December 23rd, by this time, or close to this time, we will also have the 2022 annual earnings report. The 10Qs so far this year have been filed on the 14th of February, the 16th of May, and the 12th of August, whereas last year's 10K was filed on December 29th, so I expect that this year's 10K will be filed within days of the shareholders meeting, and I expect this to be an utter joke. I expect that the balance sheet will be shocking, and I'm basing this expectation on the last earnings report, which showed that they had total assets of 84 million and total stockholder equity of 19 million. But the net loss for the year so far had been $128 million. But since this earnings report, MULN have added the assets of ELMS and have also acquired 60% of Bollinger Motors for $148 million. Was MULN filing Bollinger Motors financial statements? which shows us that Mullen paid $148 million to acquire 60% of a company worth $643,000 that makes a loss of over $13.5 million. Now, this will show up in Mullen's latest financial statements as a massive goodwill figure of about $140 million, while adding next to nothing to the actual assets of the company. So guys, if you would like to see another update video where I look a bit closer at this Bollinger Motors acquisition, the financial statements, and what value has actually been added to Mullen Automotive, then drop a comment below and like this video. As always, the information contained in this video is either from Mullen's own SEC filings or my opinion, and I am not a financial advisor, so this is not financial advice. If you are considering investing in this company, then I highly recommend consulting an actual financial advisor. Anyways guys, hit the thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next update video.